Today we're making strawberry shortcake pinwheels. Rather than making a drop biscuit shortcake, we're going to roll out our biscuit dough. We're going to cover it with a little bit of brown sugar and butter, roll it up, and slice it into these beautiful pinwheels. So let's get started making these delicious little beauties. So you're going to need about 4 cups of cleaned and sliced strawberries. And we're going to toss these with 3 to 4 tablespoons of sugar. You want these to sit in the refrigerator for about an hour and macerate, and that brings some of that juice out of your berries. And that just goes so well on top of your warm shortcake with whipped cream. So let's make our shortcake batter. We're using 4 cups of cake flour, and cake flour weighs 112 grams per cup. Unlike all-purpose flour, which weighs 120 grams. You can make these pinwheels with all-purpose flour, and that would be 480 grams. To our flour, we are going to whisk in 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder and 2 teaspoons of salt. Now we're going to cut in 1.5 cups of fat. I'm using shortening, and you could certainly use butter if you prefer. And we're just going to cut this shortening in until we have pea-sized pieces. And now we add 1.25 cups of milk or buttermilk. I always use half and half. It's cold milk. Toss this just until it's all moistened. Just until your dough comes together. Now this looks a little wet, and it is because we're going to knead this a few times with a little extra flour. And now sprinkle this with some flour. Just basically patting this. It's an easy dough to work with. Make sure to flour your surface well because this is a very sticky dough. And I come back and put a little more flour on here. And we simply take the top third and mash it onto itself, and then the bottom third and mash it. And I will put a little more flour on here and pick it up and turn it over. Flour again, because I did have a lot of milk in this. And repeat by mashing, pulling up the bottom third and mash it. And I flip it, pick up the top third, mash it, pick up the bottom third and mash it. And that's really all we have to do with our dough. And now I'm going to set this aside because I want to clean this surface. We want this surface to be free of any dough that was sticky. And you can get a little drywall tool like this any dollar store for about, $1.25 or something. And because we're making pinwheels, I'm going to roll this into a long rectangle. And you will need to continue flouring. So I've rolled this about 14 by 20. Just going to make sure that my dough is not stuck on the bottom. A little tool like this comes in very handy. I'm so excited to make this recipe for you because it's different than the traditional shortcake, making this into a pinwheel. And I love making pinwheels. Now for the center of our pinwheels, we're going to wipe on a brown sugar butter mixture. I have 4 tablespoons or half a stick of melted butter, and I have 1/2 cup of firmly packed light brown sugar. So you notice we did not put sugar into our shortcake batter, and that's because we're rolling up this brown sugar mixture in our pinwheels. So you just want to mix this until that sugar's well dissolved. And what I find works best spreading this is a flexible spatula. It's going to be a very thin ring of this brown sugar and butter inside of our shortcake. And that is good enough. Starting with the long end, we're going to just fold that over. It's not that difficult to make pinwheels. It takes a few extra minutes maybe. Now we just pinch this seam. I'm going to put a little more flour down here and roll this in it. And you can use a knife to cut your pinwheels. I go ahead and cut the ends off. I bake these up with a little extra butter and eat them myself. When that bakes, it's going to be beautiful. I'm using another one of my plastic drywall tools. And I'm going to come along and cut these. I personally like these to be a little on the thick side. They're going to bake up so pretty. They should ideally be about the same thickness, so they cook the same. Most of my pinwheels are a little over 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick. A couple of them I did leave a little extra thick, but you really do want these to be as uniform as possible so they all cook at the same rate. Place your pinwheels on a parchment lined baking sheet, and these are going into a 425-degree oven. Cook these until they're light golden brown on the bottom like a biscuit. They're very tender and flaky. These are beautiful. Light golden brown. The texture is just so soft and great using that cake flour. We just can't have strawberry shortcakes without fresh whipped topping. I always start out with an ice cold bowl. You can put this into the freezer for a few minutes. 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Adding about 3 tablespoons of sifted powdered sugar. And I go ahead and whisk the sugar in until it's completely dissolved before I begin beating this. The beautiful thing about making your own whipped topping is you can put any sort of flavoring in. You could add a little vanilla if you want, a little lemon zest, orange zest, whatever flavors you like. That is South Peaks. Now we're ready to assemble our shortcake pinwheels.